What's up, everybody? I'm back with another tutorial. I know it's been a long time. Uh, Sorry about that. I've been really busy with school, work, and all kinds of other personal things. Finally got around to coming up with another tutorial idea, which I thought this would be a pretty cool thing because it's going to teach you lighting, rendering, and just a little bit of animation. So, let's get to it. Saw a bunch of people do a different stupid phone. Anyway, saw a bunch of different people doing different versions of the Wii logo, and some were good, some were bad, some don't even know why they tried. No offense, but hopefully this one will give you an insight on a little way to do it. It's not totally correct. If you look in the original example, there's these front faces in the front kind of protrude out and they're rounded more like a bubbly looking type text, but in mine they're just flat, and that's totally because I don't know how to actually model the text to look like it does. It's because Maya's text doesn't really allow you to do that without manual adjustment, and I didn't really want to take the time. So if you want to take the time, if you know how to, then by all means do it. Let's take a look at what this is going to look like. It's just a simple boing boing, and it's up. Nothing fancy, nothing hard to do at all. I know it's kind of like, what? I don't know what I'm doing. But by the time we're done with this, you'll have learned quite a bit of different things, and let's get to it. Actually, first, let's show you what it's actually going to look like whenever it gets rendered. I'm going to show you how to make it look like this, too, so that's another added bonus. It's not too shabby, no. It's pretty cool. And I'll show you how to set that up to render out as an animation as well, so you can actually get the actual look that you're looking at right now. Alright. First things first, just create a new scene. Let's not save that because we didn't do anything. Let's create another, well, actually, let's not even create another project file because I'm not even going to save this. At first glance, you're going to be thinking, well, where'd you get the font? Well, actually, it's something that was built into my Mac's font book, so let's take a look at that real quick. And that's totally not going to work. New file. This is Photoshop. If you got any other type of editor, then by all means do it. But Photoshop's the only way I know how to do what I'm about to show you. Set up your document. And then let's grab the text tool. Any day now. For some reason, I've been installing a lot of software lately, and it's really slowed down my Mac, and I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to have to clean out their system registry and see what I can do with that. Anyway, here we go. Let's go ahead, get your font. That's pretty large for what we're wanting. Let's probably set this down to 200. It don't really matter. Oh, wrong. Give you an error if you don't select all of it. 200. And let's go ahead and type out the Wii. And the font that I used for this was, let's go back to that real quick. Arial Rounded MT Bold, which I don't know if that's on a PC or not. I haven't used a PC in almost 2 years, so, but it should be under Arial Narrow if it is. So there you go. Once we've done that, let's go ahead and let's see, how did I do this? Command click or control click this text icon, and we're going to get the whole selection going on here. And then let's grab the pen tool, right click on that. Oh, come on, what am I doing? How did I do this? I'm going to pause this till I find it out, and then we'll get back. Alright, I got it fixed. Took me about 15 minutes, but I figured it out again. Basically what you do is after you type your text, you're going to command or control click on the button with the text, and then once we do that, we're going to go to layer. Oh my gosh, I just freaking forgot how to do it again. Are you kidding me? Where did I do this at? Let's see. Oh no. Why is it doing that? There we go. Type. You just got to, let's deselect that and then click the type layer and then layer type. You don't actually have to command click. Remember that. Let's just click on the layer. There we go. Type and then click work, create work path. I'm getting tongue tied. And then basically what we get is this path right here. Well, we don't really need to do anything with it, but what we need to do is make sure we have our pen tool selected, hit Command or Control, and then drag over our text. Once we do that, let's go to File, Export Path to Illustrator, Work Path, select the work path, we don't want to do anything else, and then hit OK. Put it somewhere, and I put it on the desktop, which is mine right there, and then hit Save, and we'll be good to go. Alright, now we're back in Maya. First things first, let's go ahead and make sure we got everything set up in here. My interface is going to look a little bit different than yours because I've had to set mine up for class here lately, and it's kind of weird, and but that's not going to really subdue or make it harder for us to do what I want to teach you, so just ignore my user interface. Let's go up to the polygon tab up here, click, make sure we're in polygons. Let's go to create Adobe Illustrator object, and when we do that we want to click the option box. Stupid phone. Let's go ahead and do the option box, and once we pull up the options, let's go ahead, and we don't want to have the type selected, the curves, because that means we'll have more work to do for ourselves. So just select bevel and then hit create, and it's going to pop up a window. You're going to get all your information you need to navigate to where you save that file, and select it and then hit open, and then there we go, we got our text. You hit F to frame it, that's what F does, F on the keyboard, and then you hit 5 on the keyboard to go ahead and switch to shaded mode. Now at first you're going to see it and it's not going to be on the grid. Well, that's basically because the document size that you saved it as in Photoshop was actually kind of off center from where it should have been. I don't know how to change that. It's really not a big deal because it's easily fixable. First thing you want to do to fix this is just hit W to select your move tool. You're going to see that the point of origin is actually on the grid. It's like on the origin of the grid, but it's not actually here. So let's go ahead and center the pivot. Edit, let's see. Not exactly sure, can't remember, center pivot. There we go. I have a shortcut set up, so I don't ever use that, so that's why I couldn't figure it out just now. Let's go ahead and hit spacebar. We'll bring up our 4 views, and then we'll go into the front view, frame it. Let's go down, and then line it up with the middle of the grid. And there we go. And now we're on the grid. It's like Tron. Not really. Bad joke. Okay. Anyway, what do we do now? What do we do now? Okay, alright, yeah. This doesn't actually, I mean, yeah, okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's have some thin text. It looks awesome, but the weak logo isn't that thin, so let's fix it. Over to your right, you should see all these little tabs. You get the channel box, the attribute editor, and the tool settings. We don't really need the attribute editor or the tool settings. You can exit those if you want. You should have your channel box there, and if you scroll down in your channel box, you'll see in the inputs there's a poly or the bevel plus node there. That's where they created the bevel for our text. Let's go ahead and click that once, and then inside here we got different options, and if you look at these, each one of these do something different. Raise, that's the depth, how deep it actually is. The extrusion depth will do the same thing, except it's only going to go in one direction. Actually, I think they both do, but let's pull this out and then increase the depth. And you see what that did there? Look at these two middle things here, here and here. Watch the depth. That doesn't shrink that much, but if we do this, it shrinks them both. Let's go ahead and pull it out to right about there, and then it should be good. Maybe we'll add a little bit of width to that too to add some shape. Alrighty, there we go. That part's taken care of. Now we're going to get to the fun stuff, the animation. This part's, I'm only going to do one letter, and I'm going to let you guys do the other one, and you're just going to have to mess with the timing yourself, so that way you can get it to do what it actually does in the real logo that you see on TV and whatnot. But let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, we can do this, which basically how we're going to do this is we're going to throw a what is this thing called? A nonlinear bend on it, and then we're going to animate the bend values so that it actually deforms the eyes to do what they're supposed to do. But there's a problem. If we were to put that nonlinear bin on here now, let's go ahead and throw it on. It goes through the whole thing. And let me tell you why, or show you why that's a problem. Look what happens. We increase the curvature. Well, look. Well, that's actually pretty cool looking. That's a cool text effect. But that's not what we want. We only want to move both the I's, not the W. So let's go ahead and undo that and get rid of it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. We need to go back to our polygon tab, select polygons, and then go up to mesh, and then separate. And what that does is it separates every one of these shapes where they're all individual pieces. And let's see. Once we do that, we need to select one of the eyes, go to mesh, combine, because we want these to be one piece because they're going to move at the same time. Otherwise, we'd have to put a bin deformer on both of them, which essentially in the end wouldn't work. So let's just go ahead and combine the other one and do the same thing. You don't want to combine them at the same time, because that will make them all one piece and they'll bend at the same time and it just won't look right, because we're going to animate both of these singly. Once we get that done, let's go ahead, go back to the animation tab. We're going to grab that bin deformer and then option box just to make sure, reset the settings and hit create. And then it's on there. Let's go ahead and check out the values real quick. Okay, let's go to curvature. And if you probably see me do this, like just drag back and forth, and I'm not really even doing anything. That's because what you got to do is click on the node that you want to change, or the value I should say, and you're going to middle. If you got a three button mouse, with meaning that the scroll wheel will be your third button, or on my cheap mouse it is anyway. You click and then drag left and right, and that will do it. Look at that. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, that works, but it's bending the wrong way. So what we need to do is just hit the letter E, get our rotation up, and we're going to rotate this bin deformer. You can do it like this until you kind of eyeball it, but if you actually want it to be correct, you hold the letter J down on your keyboard, and what that does is it snaps it, and then now we got it perfectly straight. And let's go ahead and bring the low bound back to 0, because we don't want the bottom, we don't want both ends to bend, we only want the top to bend. And once we do that, let's go ahead and increase the curvature so we can get an idea of what we got. Let's go, I think when I did my example it was 2.5. Alright, we got 2.5. What we need to do now is actually move the bin deformer down so it gets the whole eye to bend instead of just the top. Looks like some kind of Shaolin monk bowing down to Buddha or something, I don't know. Anyway, go ahead and hit W to pull up your move tool. And here's another little tip. If you can't really see your move tool, go ahead and then hit the plus and minus keys on your keyboard, and you can shrink or make that bigger. And another thing is, if you go to your file, see my preferences, you can actually change the thickness of those lines and be able to see them better. Let's see, I didn't do that on there. It's in here somewhere. You're gonna have to find it, but that doesn't matter. That's just a tip. I can see mine fine because I'm used to it, so it's no big deal. Let's go ahead and bend this down, and we don't really want it to look like that, but that's mainly because our bend is a little too much there. I think right there would be fine. All right, we're good. So that's how you set up the initial bow on the eye, and now what we're going to need to do is actually set some keyframes up. So let's show our entire timeline here. Right now we only have 48 frames. That's only 2 seconds. I think 60 will probably be good for this example. Let's see. Since he's already bowed down right there, let's go ahead and set the curvature back to, well, let's note that it's 1.7. Let's go ahead and set it back to 0, and what we will do is click here and then right click and then key selected. See, if we were to just hit S, we would have set a key on all these, and that's not what we want to do, because it's not, well, that's just going to give you more problems in the end, and it's going to make your graph editor a big mess, and we don't want to do that because that's a headache. Alright, once you set the key, let's go ahead a few frames. Let's go out to maybe let's wait 1 second before he actually bends. That's 24 frames a second, so we're going to go to frame 24 for 1 second. Let's go ahead and set another key. And then we'll go out to frame 40, so that's almost 2 seconds. And we'll bend him down to the 1.7 value we had earlier, and we'll key select it again. And then we'll go out to frame, let's go 50, let's see, 57. Let's do 57, set it back to 0, and key selected. And there we go. Now what we got, let's see, he goes back, and then he bends down. And that doesn't really look like it should be far. Let's go ahead and increase that maybe to 2.3. Okay, that did too far. Let's go to 1.9, and then we'll key select it, and then there we go. And then he goes down, and he pops back up. And then you're going to repeat that whole process for the other one, but instead of setting the keys on the exact same frames, because in the other one, when he comes down, the other one's still getting ready to come down, and as he's getting ready to come back up, right whenever he's going to go back up here, I was trying to point at the screen with my finger. I mean, obviously you can't see that. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, you're going to make the other one come down as he's coming back up. Like whenever he's down here, getting ready to go back up, the other one is just now. Maybe you could set this pose right here to maybe frame 43 on this one, so that way they're not exactly in sync with each other, and that's what we're looking for, because in the original Wii logo, that's what you see. So let's go ahead and play this back and see what we got. He just like boing. Alright, cool. Let's go up, and since that's ready to go, let's go ahead and set the lighting up. And this is where I shine. This is my stuff. I love doing this. We don't want the grid on here. I hate the grid. Why? I don't even know why the grid's there. Alright, how did I do this? Alright, let's create a polygon plane and make sure we're in 5. Let's go ahead and scale this puppy up. I don't know what's wrong with my manipulators. Scale it up, and then we'll go over to our channel box again. Let's go ahead and select the polyplane node, and we will add some subdivisions to this so we can have some stuff to work with here. And increase the width, probably about right there, and the height. Let's get some height. More subdivisions in the height too. Alright. Once we do that, let's go ahead and right click, hold down the right click button, key or mouse, whatever, anyway, and then click edge. And then we're going to select that edge, hold shift, select this one, that one, and then we'll hit W. And then we'll go back to the polygon tab, and then we'll go to edit mesh. Where's extrude? Extrude. He's hiding from me. He's in here somewhere. I can really. Alright, where's he at? Where's he at? Oh, this is ridiculous. I can't find it. Anyway, you're going to want to extrude that mesh, and I for some reason, oh my gosh, there it is. Alright, it's at the top. Remember that. Let's go back, and we'll pull this back after we hit the extrude, and then pull it up. And then you hit G on your keyboard to repeat that command, and we'll pull this back up and then come out here. What we're trying to do is get a good fall off, like a good curve here, because we're going to smooth this out so there ain't very much, like light don't get caught back there. And then we'll hit G again. We'll do this. I'm going to go ahead and speed up and get this done a little bit faster. Let's go ahead and hit W after you do that. That way you can pull it straight up. Alright, and then to get off that, deselect, right click on your shape again, object mode, select it, and then hit 3 on the keyboard to smooth it, and then voila. And while I'm at that, not mentioning, I'm saying the whole smooth command, do not hit smooth on these letters. It won't work. Watch what happens. It collapses on itself. And you want to know why? Because this face is probably got more edges on it than anything in this whole scene. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least, oh my gosh, I don't even know. That's just one giant end-gon, and that's why it's collapsing on itself. So avoid that if you can at all costs. I don't know how to fix that. I mean, I know how, but I don't have the patience to go in and create lines on the front of this face. That's going to be more trouble than we want. So yeah, just we don't want that. It's ugly. set up some materials real quick. On here in my example, I used a just a basic Lambert material. And again, just right click, hold it down, go down to assign new material, and then let's go to Maya, create Lambert, and let's set the Lambert to pure white. I think that was, let's bring it down just a tad. I don't want it to be that bright. Alright. And this actually came as a little shock to me because in the original real logo, it looks like they used the blend material, which made it easier for setting this up. So we'll just select all those shapes. That's click, hold shift, click, click. And then we'll go down to assign new material and then Maya and blend. Let's see. Let's go and brighten that up just a tad. And then we'll go down to the eccentricity, and then we'll increase that so that this fall off on the specular highlight gets a lot larger. And then we will decrease, well, let's increase the specular fall off. And the specular color is something that I wanted. Let's go and raise that. So what we do is we get a really good hot spot there. And then reflectivity, we do not want. Maybe 0.005 at the most, but that's, when I was playing around with it, it looked terrible. Alright, so we got our shape down, and that looks gorgeous. Alright, let's go ahead and set up a camera. So you want to go to your tabs here, and go to rendering, and then select the camera. Create camera, I'm sorry. And then you can barely see it there. Let's go ahead and scale that up. And then go to panels up here in your view. Look through selected camera. And then let's hold command and then right click, and you can drag and dolly out from that. And let's go ahead and just middle mouse click. We'll do this as well. Alright, we want it to be set right here, and then let's go to channel box. I think I zeroed out the X so that way it would be right and lined up directly with this text. Everything else I just left alone. And then up here, let's go ahead and turn on the film gate, and then we'll go up here and click this box to adjust our render settings. You want to render using Mental Ray. I mean, you can use the software if you want, but Mental Ray is the way to do it. And then let's see, HD 720. Awesome. Let's go to quality. Alright, spinning wheel of death. Alright, let's set this to, we'll do 0 for now, 1. And then indirect lighting, we turn on final gathering. Exit that, and now we got our camera set up. Everything's fine, it's in line. Let's go ahead and actually pull it down in Y, and then 0 out our X again. So that way we get it kind of dead center there. And then let's go back to panels, perspective, and then we'll click perspective so we can go around, set up some lights. I just use a spotlight in mine, in my original example. Gonna scale it up. Panels, look through selected camera. Now we can aim this spotlight, and I think like this is how I had it last time. Let's go ahead and raise that up. What am I doing here? Oh, okay. Why is it doing that? Oh, here we go. Spotlight shape. Let's go ahead and we'll keep that. We'll keep everything the same. The cone angle. Let's increase the cone angle a little bit. The penumbra angle. Go ahead and increase that so we get this nice fall off from where the light hits. And increase our drop off to maybe 35 or in the 30s. And then we'll go down to shadows. Click your shadow tab. We don't need depth map shadows. Ray trace shadows work better in Mental Ray. Go ahead and check that on. Increase your light race to 15. This is actually all dependent on your light radius, and basically what the light radius means is how soft your shadows are. If you leave it at 0, it's going to be a real hard, crisp shadow that you might see in the middle of the day. But I like to keep mine at maybe like 5, and then we'll keep the shadow rays at 15. And let's see, there was one more light. Oh, this one here. Go back to our perspective. Create an area light there. We'll go ahead and scale that up, and then we'll raise it up just so we can see it, and then go ahead and rotate it. Remember, hold J to snap. Rotate it facing straight down. Let's go ahead and our top view. Come on. Alright, let's see. Let's increase the scale on this to cover up the entire scene. And then back that up to where it's right there. Alright. And let's raise this up above the entire thing. I actually think this is a little bit higher than what I had last time, but because my background wasn't as high as that. But once we get that set up, we'll go ahead and drop this down to 0.5 or 0.5, because trust me, this is going to be really bright. If you don't, go back down your shadows. No, we don't need depth map shadows, and then we'll hit this to 15. Yeah, whatever. You can mess with it. The more shadow rays, the less grainy your shadows are going to be. Remember that. And we're ready to render, so let's go ahead and see what we get. Oh heck. Oh no. I don't know why I did that. Let's go ahead and select the camera. Now let's try to render it and see what we get. There we go. Go ahead and let it render. Now, I'm not going to go through and pristine the actual render on what it looks like or anything like that. I'm going to let you guys adjust all the settings and everything else so you get the exact same results that I did, because that's the whole point of this, is to tinker around with the software, play with all the settings, and that's how you learn. You got to play around with everything until you get it the way you like it, and that's how I learned. And aside from the fact that I'm in school now, that I'm learning how to do this professionally, but hopefully this tutorial gives you a good setup on how to go about making something up like this, the Wii logo. Now on the other whenever I did mine, I had a lot more different settings than this. Let's see, for some reason this doesn't look as good as it did. You can see all that grain. You probably can't see it in the screen recording, but there's a lot of grain from that area of shadow, so you want to increase your light samples in the area light and your ray trace shadow settings. And we'll go ahead and bend that down so we can get an idea of what it looks like here. Let's go ahead and re-render this right there. Just drag it, and then we'll hit this render region box. And a lot of what the actual letters look like, as far as how they look, is going to be dependent on your material settings as well. So don't forget that. And there we go. I mean, that's how you basically set up the Wii logo in Maya. It can be used for a bunch of different things too. You can do this with all kinds of different title effects or whatever. It's whatever you want to do. Oh, I forgot to show you guys how to actually render this animation out. Make sure you got your frame range set to 6060 or whatever it is that you got. Go into your render settings, and then we'll go back to the common tab under the mental ray renderer, and then whenever you want to render this out, just give it a name. Image format, I like to do PNG. PNG is pretty good, or Targa. It's just whatever one, depending on what kind of editor you're going to use to drag the whole image sequence into, is what's going to determine that. But set it up under PNG if you want to name it something. And under frame/animation, you're going to go down to name.extension, and what this will do is change it to an animation. And then once you do that, you go down to frame range, and we'll set that up to 60 or however long you got yours. Hit enter, and then it'll be ready to render for the animation. And then to actually go ahead and render it out as an animation, you got to go to the render tab over here, and then go up to the top, click render, and then click batch render. And what it'll do is it'll render out the entire sequence, and then you can pull it into your favorite editor, Final Cut Pro, Premiere, Sony Vegas, whatever, and then render it out as a movie. And that's the tutorial. So hope you guys learned something, and if you want any other tutorials, have any questions, just leave it in the comment section. And that's all for this one. Thanks.